Greetings everyone and welcome, or welcome back if you've been with me before. My name is Tommy Hensel and this is Table for One Please. I'm excited today to be trying out a recipe that I have never tried before, so I'm throwing caution to the wind and doing it for you right here. It's a beautiful day here outside of Chicago, and so I've opened all the windows in my apartment, so you may hear ambient noises of water and dogs and other sorts of things. I apologize if that's distracting, but it's just too beautiful not to have the breeze blowing through my apartment. So if you have read my bio or seen any of my previous videos, then you will know that, among other things, I am an independent consultant for Pampered Chef, hence the apron. So today I'm actually going to be trying a recipe that I haven't done before that's one of the Pampered Chef recipes. It's called roasted carrots with pistachios. And of course, I'm going to be highlighting as many of the wonderful Pampered Chef products as possible because I have a kitchen full of this stuff. I've been collecting Pampered Chef products for 25, probably almost 30 years now, and eventually, about 2 months ago, I suddenly went, no, I might as well become a consultant because I've got so much of this stuff and I love to talk about it anyway. I might as well do something with this passion. So today, excuse me, I'm going to be working with one of their recipes that sounds pretty tasty, so I'm excited to try it out for you. So let me go over what some of the ingredients are going to be in today's dish. So first of all, some basic stuff: salt, olive oil, then honey, pistachios, red wine vinegar, cumin, and chickpeas. I'm only going to be using a half of a cup of these chickpeas, so I will save the rest of them for later and probably make hummus out of them. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the juice, the aquafaba juice in the chickpeas as well when we get to that point. Obviously, carrots are the main thing in this side dish. It calls for about 1.5 pounds of carrots. I only have about 1 pound, so I'll be adjusting the recipe slightly for that. If you look at the pictures that Pampered Chef has of this particular dish, they use those beautiful multicolored early spring carrots that would be gorgeous in this dish. But most of us don't have those beautiful multicolored carrots around all the time. We have plain old carrots. I subscribe to a bi-weekly delivery from Imperfect Foods, which sends imperfect produce. So I get carrots that look like this. It looks like kind of like a club. So I will be slicing this one lengthwise twice, and these other two smaller ones lengthwise once, and then chopping them up into about 2-inch lengths for this recipe. And because these are kind of, big, clunky carrots, I will probably peel these as well. The recipe also calls for mint, and sadly my mint is looking very sad today, but I will be able to cull through and find enough of it, and what I'll do with the rest of it is chop it up finely and throw it into some boiling water and steep it for a tisane, so I can have some mint tea later. So let's look at some of the products that I'm going to be highlighting for you today. The manual food processor, which I love. These Measure All cups, I'm going to be using a couple of those. I'm going to be using this colander measuring cup, which I love because it's easy to read and you can drain things through it. I'm also going to use one of the smaller easy to read measuring cups. I love it because when you put it on the counter, you can see the quantities really easily, unlike some of the other measuring cups that I have. And then of course some standard things that you would use in most preparations of food. I've got the adjustable measuring spoons, which I'll be using. I love this little mini whisk. They just brought this product back after being gone for a long time, and it's great because it's got a really sturdy handle and it's easy to use. And then some of the spatulas that I use all the time. So I'll be using those. And then the stone bar pan. These new stone pans, if you've got some old Pampered Chef products, which I have some very old stoneware from probably 20 years ago, those cannot be put under the broiler and they can't really be preheated a lot. These, however, the new ones, can be preheated and can be broiled. And today I'm not going to broil, but I will be preheating this pan for this recipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away and I'm going to do a whole bunch of preparation so that I can show you the the way that this dish comes together. And it'll probably be in 2 or 3 little chunks today. So I will be heading off. I'll be back in just a few minutes with the next step in today's process. Welcome back, everyone. So I have done a little bit of mise en place here to get ready for the assembly of this roasted carrots with pistachios dish. So I've taken the stone bar pan and I've put it in the oven and preheating the oven to 425 degrees. So the pan itself will get hot. Now, if you have old Pampered Chef stoneware, I have some that's 20 years old that's amazing and it's completely non-stick, after all these years. Don't preheat that and don't put that under a broiler. It was not made for that. This new stoneware, however, is made for both broiler and for preheating. It's amazing stuff. So it's I think it's a lot more versatile than the old stoneware. I've had this bar pan now probably about a month. And it's not completely non-stick yet, but it's almost there. It doesn't take long to season them. So anyway, that's in the oven, 425 degrees. What we're going to do is toss some oil and spices onto the carrots and put them on the baking pan and bake for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to add chickpeas. So what I wanted to do first was talk a little bit about the chickpeas. I'm going to drain them. I love this little draining colander. There we go. All right. So I'm draining them. And what you'll see is left behind is the juice from the can of chickpeas. This is called, I'm going to put this in the sink for just a second. This is called aquafaba. Aquafaba is a fascinating thing. It wasn't too long ago that some chefs discovered that you could use aquafaba in the same way that you use egg whites. So if you're a vegan cook or cooking for someone who is vegan, you can substitute aquafaba for egg whites in recipes. So I think what I'm going to do is, for my next installment of Table for One, Please, I'm going to do a little bit of interesting things with aquafaba. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways to use it in your kitchen. So don't throw out that juice from the garbanzo beans or from the chickpeas, because you can use it to make meringue and you can use it like egg whites. So I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to quickly just rinse these. I'm going to rinse those again in a little while, because what's going to happen is I'm going to do the carrots first, cook them for 10 minutes, then throw some chickpeas in and cook it for 10 more minutes, and then assemble with some other sauces that I'm going to make. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you this first step, and then we're going to fast forward in time to about 20 minutes later when I'm assembling the rest of the dish. But first, we're going to toss onto the carrots a tablespoon of oil. So just a tablespoon of olive oil. All right. And about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm using kosher salt here. All right. And then a 1/2 teaspoon, I've now made this into a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin. That's a little more than a half, but I like cumin, so sprinkle that on. Woo! I love the smell of cumin. It's very pungent. I'm going to move the salt out of the way, and we're just going to toss that together. Quick and easy, no fuss. Just coating the carrots. And you'll notice that they're not, I'm not a precise cook when I'm cooking for myself, and I'm not trying to impress anybody. So these are all more or less the same size, about 1.5 to 2 inches. So they should cook fairly evenly. So I'm going to move this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is take out that hot pan, and then I'm going to throw the carrots on and put it back in the oven. So the pan has been preheating. And you can see if I had, this is only a pound of carrots, if I had the pound and a half, it would be exactly the right amount for this baking dish. I'm going to go ahead and add the same amount of other ingredients to put on top of it. That just means I'll have a little extra stuff on my carrots. All right, so now, easy, I'm just going to put this back in the oven for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to take a half a cup of chickpeas and sprinkle them on top and put it back in for another 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is do all of that, and then I'll come back and maybe about 5 minutes before that's done and start assembling the rest of the dish for you. So don't go away. Hello again, I'm back. We have about 7 minutes to go on the chickpeas and the carrots, but I wanted to do a couple of other things to throw it all together at the last minute. But first, I wanted to talk about these amazing cutting boards. I love the Pampered Chef cutting boards. They come in 3 sizes. There's the little bar board, and then there's the medium-sized one, which I use all the time as well. And then the big one, they all have centimeters and inches on them, so you can use them to cut. But I love the big one because it's got this groove on one side, so if you're slicing something that's going to be really juicy, the juice will run into the grooves and not all over your counter, so kind of a cool thing. But anyway, so what we're going to do first is create a little vinaigrette to go on the carrots. So first what I'm going to do is 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. It's 2 tablespoons. Get that out of the way. And then there's honey and there's oil, but I'm going to do the oil first. I always do the honey after the oil so that the oil, it's 2 tablespoons of oil, that the oil will coat the spoon and should help the honey to release. Because, you know, if you cook a lot, you'll know one of the banes of dealing with honey is the fact that it is hard to get out of the of measuring spoons. 1 tablespoon of honey. Let's see if it works. Yeah, look at that. It slides right out. Ooh, I'm very impressed with myself. All right. And just about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's probably a little more, but that's all right. I like salt. Now I'm going to whisk that together. And it takes just a second because you do have to slightly emulsify the honey and the oil and the vinegar. Okay, cool. So there is that. Now we're going to use some of that on the carrots when they come out, but what we're going to put on it at the very end is a combination of mint and a little bit of the vinaigrette and pistachios. So I'm using this cool little manual food processor. I love this because it doesn't have to plug in, and I don't have any free plugs here. It's got this great blade, slides right in. I'm going to put 1/3 cup of pistachios in there, and then about 1/4 cup of loosely packed mint leaves. Oops, there we go. All right, and what did I do with my tablespoon? And 3 tablespoons of the vinaigrette. 1, 2, 3. We're saving the rest to drizzle over the carrots. The manual food processor is awesome because since it's not electric, you can take it anywhere. I'm going to take it camping this summer, I think. So you want to puree it up or chop it until it's about whatever consistency you want. You want it to not be completely. No, I think it needs a little bit more. It's good exercise too. Maybe just a tiny bit more. There we go. All right. Good thing is, the blade comes out completely And it's in the cabinet, but it comes with a lid. So you could actually make something in this, stick the lid on it and put it in the refrigerator and you're good to go. So this is gonna go on top of our dish when we plate it. Oh, a little sip of rosé. All right, so we have a little bit of the vinaigrette left. We're gonna I'm gonna move this out of the way. We're gonna bring that out in just a second. And then we're gonna plate it up so you can see what it looks like. Really simple dish. As I said earlier, I'm going to place the recipe or a link to the recipe in the description of this video so you can go take a look at it online. But this is one of those things you can make in less than a half hour. Poof, great side dish that looks and tastes extremely impressive. And it is, but it's super simple. And again, I have all the windows open so you're getting to hear children playing and dogs barking. So we're just about ready to take that out, so I'm going to do that. All right. Let's test that to see. All right. They do need a little bit more time to cook. So what I'm going to do is put them back in the oven, and I'll be back in just a few minutes to finish the last section of this recipe. So don't go away. I'll be right back. All right. 5 more minutes. That's all it needed. And now I'm going to bring it out of the oven for you. All right. So we have the carrots and chickpeas. We're going to take the vinaigrette and just drizzle it. It's going to sizzle, which I kind of like. Ooh, listen to the sizzly sound. Okay, there we go. Stir to coat. I love the sounds of cooking. All right. Oh, there we go. That was warning me that it was time, but there we go. All right. Now, we're going to plate it up. One of the things I like about putting chickpeas in the oven is that they actually start to crisp up a little bit. So they have an interesting kind of slightly crunchy texture. And by the way, I only used a half a cup, so I've got a whole bunch of chickpeas left. I'm going to make those into hummus later today. Right. That's going to drive me crazy. I've got 4 random chickpeas. There we go. All right, so let me move the very hot dish out of the way. And now, for garnish, we're going to put that pistachio and mint mixture, just sprinkle it over the top. All right. And there we have it. Roasted carrots with pistachios. If I had better mint, I would put a sprig of mint on either side or in the middle, something to dress it up a little bit. But it's a beautiful, easy to make dish. If you've got those different colored carrots, you can see how that would make it pop. You would have the purple and the sort of white carrots and the lighter orange ones and the darker orange. So you would have all that color contrast, but you still get a nice color contrast with the orange, and the green from the pistachios and from the mint. So I think it's a win. Oh, wait a minute. I can't tell you if it's a win yet. Yes, it's a win. I really like that a lot. chewing. My first time making it, here's what I would suggest if you follow the recipe. I would make the slices of carrots smaller, not 2 inches. I would probably make them 2 inches and either thinner or just 1 inch. I think they would benefit from being slightly smaller than how I chop them. Otherwise, I think it's a win. I really like it. And actually, it goes really well with this rosé. So, thank you for joining me. On my next installment of Table for One, I'm going to take that aquafaba that was left over from draining the can of chickpeas, and I'm going to do a couple of interesting things with it. So stay tuned for my next installment, and until then, I'm going to sit down and enjoy a nice, light, early evening meal of roasted carrots and pistachios. Thank you, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Oh, and cheers, and as always, I am epicuriously yours.